Welcome back to Grimverse History, where we uncover the strange and forgotten sides of history. Tonight, we step into a past we think we already understand. A world filled with kings, empires, and stories polished by time. But if we pull back the curtain just a little, the glow fades, and the shadows begin to move. Behind the triumphs and the legends lies another history entirely. One built on fear, domination, and human cruelty pushed to its very limits. A history shaped by the 10 most horrific torture methods ever devised, each one darker and more ingenious in its brutality than the last. These were punishments so terrifying that even imagining them feels unsettling, and surviving them was almost impossible. People admire ancient civilizations for their wisdom, their architecture, their philosophy. But here's the contradiction no one mentions. The same societies that built wonders also engineered horrors. Methods designed not merely to punish, but to break, to silence, to erase. Some were public spectacles. Some were whispered punishments, and some were nightmares disguised as justice. What makes it worse is their ingenuity. Human cruelty wasn't chaotic, it was engineered. And once you see these methods, you'll realize something unsettling. You wouldn't last a minute inside them. You step into a dim stone chamber, the air thick with the scent of metal and damp earth. A torch crackles nearby, casting trembling shadows along the walls. Iron hooks glint like the teeth of patient beasts. Wooden wheels, leather straps, and rusted chains lie scattered as if waiting for a name to claim. The room feels alive, as though it remembers every scream it ever tasted. And now, you're standing in the center of it. Take a deep breath. Let the noise of your day soften. Before we explore these forgotten horrors, tap like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a journey into the shadows of history. You're safe here, only traveling in your mind. The past can't touch you. Not tonight. Dim the lights. Let the hum of your fan settle into the room like a low, steady heartbeat. Let the darkness around you thicken softly, like a blanket pulled over old memories. Slow your breath. Quiet your thoughts. We're moving deeper now. It's the 14th century. The world is colder, harsher, ruled by fear and superstition. And hidden behind monastery doors, castle walls, and city markets, the most horrific torture methods in human history are being prepared, each one worse than the last. People today like to think they live in a harsh age, but beside the punishments of the ancient world, those annoyances barely qualify as discomfort. Crucifixion is a quiet reminder of that. Not the cinematic version with soft lighting and heroic poses. The real version. The one that begins with a piece of wood and ends with the body slowly forgetting how to breathe. You stand in front of the cross for a moment. The wood looks harmless, almost gentle in the evening light. You touch it. It feels warm, rough, ordinary. That's the first trick. Cruelty often hides inside things that look ordinary. The Romans didn't always nail people to the cross. Sometimes they tied them. Both were terrible. Being tied only meant you stayed alive longer. Your shoulders shift first, then your elbows, then your wrists. Each joint slides out of place one by one, like stubborn stones giving up under weight. You don't hear the pop. You feel it. A slow stretching that ends in a strange, hollow silence inside the body. Breathing becomes a negotiation. The chest rises, but the arms pull it down. The diaphragm tries to help, but gravity laughs first. You push up with your legs, then collapse. Again, again. Every inhale costs something. Every exhale feels like a mistake. And the world narrows into a small circle of sky you can barely keep in focus. Some people lasted hours. Some lasted days. None of them lasted well. Even the crowd knows what's happening. They stand far enough away not to hear the small sounds. The wet breath, the scraping, the low moan that slips out without permission. People don't like hearing the truth of their own cruelty. It sticks. And you, standing there now, feel your own legs getting heavier. Your hands sweat a little. A breeze moves across your arms like a quiet warning. This is the part of history no one romanticizes for long. Not after understanding how slowly a body gives up. Crucifixion isn't dramatic. It's patient. And that makes it worse. The air shifts. A colder kind of silence settles in. Because what came after crucifixion in human history didn't get any kinder. You hear the metal first. A soft scrape. A hollow ring. Like someone setting down a small bowl on stone. It's nothing dramatic. Cruelty rarely announces itself. Rat torture begins with something almost innocent. A cage the size of your 2 hands. Lightweight, easy to pick up. You could mistake it for a lantern if you didn't look closely. But the shape is wrong. The air inside is warm, and the thing moving in the corner is very much alive. You watch them place the cage on a man's bare stomach. The iron rim settles against his skin, cold at first, then steady. The rat presses itself into the farthest corner, its whiskers trembling like thin wires in a breeze. It smells the sweat. It hears the breath. It knows something is coming. So do you. Heat arrives slowly. A coal. A torch. Sometimes just a pan of embers held close. The metal warms in layers, first gentle, then insistent. A faint ticking sound rises as the rat shifts its claws, testing the floor. You can almost feel the warmth on your own skin. It's not painful yet, just uncomfortable, like a warning you can't interpret, the kind that makes your heartbeat grow a little uneven. The rat tries the air holes, pushes its nose between the bars, finds nothing. Heat builds. You smell something sharp. Fear, fur, a thin line of singed dust. The rat panics, and nature does the rest. When there's no way out, all roads lead down. Soft flesh is easier than fire. It digs, not out of malice, not out of hunger, just survival, pure and uncomplicated. The kind humans pretend they've outgrown. You hear the man inhale, a tight, shallow breath. His hands pull at the straps, his back arches. The sound he makes isn't a scream, more a startled realization that the body has more exits than one expects. You look at the cage again. The metal glows faintly now. The rat keeps digging. Slow, desperate, methodical. Even cruelty has a rhythm. Rat torture works because the victim fights 2 enemies at once. The heat above, the teeth below. It doesn't take long to lose track of which one terrifies you more. In the end, the cage is silent. The rat is gone, and the room feels colder than before. A simple method, terribly efficient. The air shifts again, warmer this time, thicker, because what humanity invented next didn't rely on animals at all. You notice the ropes first. They look simple, just cords of twisted hemp resting beside a wooden frame that creaks every few seconds, as if remembering the people who stretched across it. Most torture devices announce themselves with blades or heat. The rack prefers understatement. You step a little closer. The wood smells of old sweat and cold mornings. A faint dusting of splinters clings to the edges like forgotten warnings. Someone runs their hand along the turning wheel. It spins with a soft groan. Slow, steady, patient. The kind of sound that tells you this machine never hurries. It doesn't need to. Your wrists tighten slightly when you see where the ropes lead. 2 at the arms, 2 at the ankles, 4 directions for one body. You imagine lying there for a moment. The surface is hard. The air feels colder this close to the floor. You can almost sense the stiffness in your own joints, as if your shoulders know what comes next. The rack doesn't start with pain. It starts with doubt. A gentle pull, then another. Your muscles stretch in ways they were never meant to. Fibers strain. Your elbows shift. Your hips protest in a low, internal whisper you don't want to hear again. The body tries to stay whole, but the wheel keeps turning. A joint dislocates with a soft, wet thump. Not loud, not cinematic, just final. Like a door closing somewhere deep under your skin. You inhale. Your chest shakes without your permission. You feel your breath snag on the thought of the next crank. Some versions added metal studs or spikes beneath the back. They waited until the body arched. Then they tore into it as easily as a nail goes through wet cloth. You wouldn't scream right away. That part usually came later, when the body realized it had more moving parts than the mind expected. The rack is honest in its own way. It shows you exactly how far a human body can stretch before it stops being human. A cruel geometry lesson. You hear the water before you see it. A slow, rolling rhythm against the hull. Soft, steady, almost calming if you didn't know what the sailors were preparing for. The rope coils at their feet like a patient snake. Someone tests the knots. Someone else looks away. Even the sea seems to hold its breath. Keel hauling is simple in the way storms are simple. You're tied to a line that runs from one side of the ship to the other, looping under the keel. The dark belly of the vessel where daylight never reaches. You feel the rope tighten around your wrists, then your ankles. Salt stings your skin. The boards beneath your feet are warm from the sun. It's the last warmth you'll feel for a while. A shout, then the drop. Cold water takes you in one brutal swallow. Your ears fill first, then your nose, then everything else. You don't know where up is. The world folds into bubbles and pressure, and the heavy shadow of the ship's hull sliding above you. The keel is not smooth. It's covered in barnacles, sharp, unbothered little creatures clinging to the wood like nature's broken glass. Your body drags across them as the sailors pull the rope, slowly at first, then harder. Your skin opens in thin, bright lines. Your breath runs out. Your chest burns for air you can't reach. Your skull grazes wood, then stone, then nothing. Most people don't make it to the other side. Those who do usually wish they hadn't. Keel hauling doesn't rely on creativity, just distance, and the ocean's indifference, a quiet way to disappear. The deck creaks softly again, because the next method didn't involve the sea, only fire, and the people patient enough to use it. You see the wheel before you hear it. Tall, heavy, too ordinary for what it's about to do. It leans against a wooden post like a tired farm tool waiting for morning chores. Cruelty, again, pretending to be humble. You walk closer. The spokes rise above your head, thick with old stains that never fully wash out. The air around it feels still, as if even the wind hesitates here. A rope sways lightly from the beam overhead. Someone adjusts it. Someone else looks at the ground. Nobody likes eye contact around a breaking wheel. The method is simple in the way thunderstorms are simple. Your limbs are stretched out along the wheel, arms following spokes in one direction, legs in another. The posture is uncomfortable even before anything begins. Your joints twitch. Your fingertips feel colder. Your breath sits tight in your throat. Waiting. Then comes the club. A long wooden beam, heavy enough to make the hands holding it shake a little. It lifts. It falls. Bones crack with a sound that isn't sharp or loud, more like a damp stick snapping under wet leaves. One strike, then another. The body bends around the wheel, reshaping itself into angles it never studied for. You feel your own legs tense as you watch, a strange reflex, as if your bones want to hide deeper inside you. The wheel turns slowly, presenting each limb like a page. Each one breaks. The rhythm is steady, almost calm. Pain arrives in waves the victim never outruns. Eventually the limbs lose their shape entirely, soft, swollen, twisted into quiet confusion. The mind drifts somewhere else, far away from the wood and the sky and the people staring. Sometimes, after the breaking, they wove the body through the spokes, threaded it like cloth, left it there until the sun or blood loss or simple exhaustion finished what the club started. Some people stayed alive for days. 4, according to one account. A strange achievement. You look up at the wheel again. It stands completely still, as if waiting for the next person who thinks history was gentler than it was. You notice the stake long before you understand what it's for. Just a tall piece of wood, smooth in places, splintered in others, planted upright in the ground like someone tried to grow a tree and gave up halfway. It stands there quietly, almost politely, cruelty once again, pretending to be patient. You walk a little closer. The tip catches the light, not sharp like a weapon, but tapered, careful, intentional. That's the part people underestimate. Impalement isn't about speed, it's about accuracy, about guiding a body along a path it was never meant to travel. Someone ties the victim's wrists, someone steadies the legs. You hear a soft shuffle of boots on dirt. No one speaks. This isn't the kind of punishment that needs explanation. The air feels heavy, as if the ground itself knows what's about to enter it. When the body lowers onto the stake, it doesn't pierce like a knife. It presses, slowly. The skin stretches. A small tremor runs through the legs. Then the wood finds its first place to enter, quietly, almost politely, and the body shudders around it. The aim is not to hit vital organs. That would be merciful. The stake travels through soft pathways instead, carefully avoiding the things that would end the suffering too quickly. Anatomy, repurposed as cruelty. You feel your own throat tighten as you watch. Your fingers brush your side, unconsciously checking that your ribs are still where they should be. A breeze moves across your arm. The hair rises. The body rises too, inch by inch, pulled upward by nothing but pain and gravity. It's a climb no one volunteered for. Over hours, sometimes days, the person slides higher. Muscles cramp, organs shift. The stake warms under their weight, taking on the temperature of living flesh. The eyes glaze first, then the voice leaves. The body, stubborn as always, refuses to quit until every last part reaches its limit. People have lasted 3 days. One account says 4. Endurance, unfortunately, is not always a gift. The worst variation doesn't even use a stake, just a hook, and a single, practiced throw. History has never lacked imagination. The wind settles again, cool, metallic, because the next invention didn't lift the body upward. It crushed everything downward instead. You hear the story before you see the scene. A murmur passed down through sagas, half whispered by poets who liked their history with a little extra blood. The Vikings called it the Blood Eagle. Whether it truly happened or not, well, that part depends on who was telling the story and how much mead they'd had. You stand in a dim wooden hall. Smoke curls upward from a fire pit, drifting in thin ribbons toward the rafters. The air smells of pine tar, wet fur, and something metallic underneath. Viking cruelty, if it existed, never rushed. It unfolded the way winter does, quiet, inevitable, and colder than expected. The victim is placed face down, arms stretched, back exposed. The skin glistens in the firelight, warm and alive in a room full of people pretending not to feel anything. You hear a knife slide from a sheath. The sound is soft, but the hall somehow grows smaller. The blade enters the back with a slow, deliberate line. Not deep at first, just enough to part the skin, revealing a flash of red beneath pale flesh. Your own shoulders twitch as you watch. A strange reflex, your body trying to protect parts you didn't know were anxious. Ribs come next, not cut, broken, pulled apart like stubborn branches. There's a dull crack, heavy and reluctant, as bone gives way to hands that do not hesitate. The hall stays silent, except for breathing. Yours, theirs, and the one who no longer controls his own. Then the lungs, lifted outward, placed on the back like wings made of living tissue. They pulse, slow, unsteady. Each rise and fall a reminder that the body continues long after comfort leaves. Some say the victim remained alive through most of it. Some say the Vikings never actually performed this ritual at all. Sagas mix truth with imagination, the way storms mix rain with sea spray. You get both, whether you want them or not. You watch the lungs flutter one more time. Strange, fragile things. Not built for daylight, not meant to be seen. A cruel ritual, or just a cruel legend. Both cut just as deep. A cold draft moves through the hall, thin, sharp, because the next method didn't rely on myth. It relied on fire, steel, and absolute certainty. You notice the heat before you notice the gold. Not the harsh kind that burns your skin. A softer, rolling warmth, like standing too close to a fire that pretends to be friendly. The crucible sits on a stone table. Its rim glows the way the horizon glows just before sunrise, except this sunrise hums with danger. Molten gold moves inside it like thick, lazy sunlight that forgot it's supposed to be harmless. You take a step closer. The air around the metal feels heavier, sweeter, almost beautiful, if you ignore the reason it's here. Someone picks up iron tongs. Someone else steadies the man tied to a chair. Greed apparently has always been an expensive mistake. They force his mouth open. Not wide, just enough. The kind of opening a dentist might ask for, except the feeling in the room is very far from dentistry. You see his throat tense, his eyes tremble at the edges. Your own jaw tightens in quiet sympathy, the way the body reacts to things it hopes never to experience. The crucible tilts. A thin thread of gold slides from the lip, glowing too brightly to be real. It makes no sound as it falls. Heat travels through the air in a soft wave that brushes your cheek. You pull back an inch, a tiny instinct for survival. The gold touches his tongue first. There's no scream. Just a choking, startled exhale that turns into nothing. The metal moves downward, following the shape of the throat, burning everything it meets, turning flesh into memory. Gold does not hurry. It settles, it coats, it claims the body from the inside out. You see his chest rise once, halfway, then stop. The room smells faintly of heated metal and something darker beneath, a reminder that wealth, when hot enough, is perfectly indifferent. This punishment was usually saved for those who loved money too much. Ironically, it was the one time gold didn't make anyone richer, just quieter. A cruel investment. A breeze slips across your arm, cool, almost apologetic, because the next method didn't rely on heat at all, just pressure, and the slow collapse of everything underneath it. A thin blade resting on a stone tray, its edge catching the light with a quiet, almost embarrassed shimmer. Nothing dramatic, nothing theatrical, just a tool waiting for a task no tool should ever have. The Assyrians were efficient that way. No unnecessary noise, no extra movement, just a belief that fear works best when it's methodical. You step closer. The air feels different near the table, denser, heavier, as if it remembers things it would rather forget. You smell oil, warm stone, and something sharp beneath it. Your fingertips brush your own arm, instinctively checking that the skin still belongs to you. The victim is tied upright, arms stretched slightly outward, not enough to hurt, just enough to remove the comfort of choice. Their breath is fast. Their eyes move the way small birds do when trapped in a cage too small to fly. The knife touches the shoulder first, not deep, just enough to make a line. The kind of line a tailor might make when marking cloth, except this cloth breathes and trembles. The blade travels downward in slow, controlled strokes. Skin separates with a sound you don't expect. Soft, delicate, almost the sound of paper tearing under gentle fingers. You feel your own stomach tighten. Your throat grows small. Your hands grow cold. Flaying doesn't rush. It needs patience. The torturer lifts each strip carefully, pulling it away like peeling fruit. Beneath, the flesh glows a deep, living red, a color that has waited its whole life to stay hidden. The victim inhales sharply. A wet, broken sound follows. Shock begins its slow climb through the body. Sometimes people die early. Sometimes they don't. Pain is unpredictable that way. Blood loss comes next. Then infection, if the victim is unlucky enough to survive long enough to get it. Assyria used this punishment often. They believed flaying turned a body into a warning, and a city into an obedient city. Fear, after all, is excellent at its job. You watch a final strip fall. The room feels colder now. Even the walls seem to look away. A quiet method, terrifyingly thorough. A breeze shifts the torch flame, just a small flicker. Because the next invention didn't remove the skin. It removed the silence instead. You smell the pitch before you see the fire. A thick, oily sweetness hanging in the air, clinging to your throat the way smoke clings to old stone. The torchbearers move slowly, almost lazily, as if preparing for a festival instead of what this really is. Rome had a way of disguising cruelty as ceremony. It still does, if you squint at history long enough. You walk closer. The stake stands tall. Plain wood, no decoration, no drama. The ropes look ordinary too. Everything about a Roman candle is simple. Only the outcome is complicated. A man is tied to the post. His back straightens each time the rope tightens. You hear a small exhale, barely a sound, more like a thought leaving the body. Your own shoulders tense without permission, a quiet reminder that the line between observer and participant is thinner than it feels. The guards pour oil over his legs first. It runs in slow rivers, down the shins, across the feet, pooling on the ground like a dark mirror catching the torchlight. The smell grows sharper, heavier. Your eyes sting a little. You blink slowly, trying not to imagine what heat will do to skin soaked in fuel. The torch touches his ankles, not harshly, almost gently. A soft kiss of flame. Fire climbs upward in a slow, deliberate dance, licking at his legs as if tasting its way along the body. You hear the first crackling sound. Fabric, hair, maybe hope. Hard to tell. He inhales, sharply. The kind of breath that tries to escape the body entirely. Fire doesn't explode here. It creeps. It rises inch by inch. It teaches patience in the cruelest way possible. Nero used this method on Christians, they say. He lit them along the garden paths, a living row of torches glowing under the Roman night. Some argued it was justice. Most whispered it was madness. All agreed it was unforgettable. The flames reached the chest, then the throat, then the face. The body becomes a silhouette, a shape outlined by the same city that once called itself civilized. A Roman candle burns slowly. That was the point. A spectacle disguised as punishment. A warm gust brushes your cheek, unsettling, too close, because the next method didn't rely on fire at all. It relied on the cold, precise hunger of metal. The night grows quiet now, softer, a little slower. The echoes of old chambers fade. The hiss of fire, the drag of ropes, the heavy breath of empires that have long turned to dust. What remains is only the faint shadow of those forgotten places, like soot clinging to the corners of a dream. You feel the air around you settle. The past loosens its grip. The torchlight, the iron, the cold stone floors. They drift backward, slipping behind the thin curtain of time as gently as a door closing on its own. Let yourself return, back to your room, back to your breath, back to the softness of now. History can be heavy, but it doesn't follow you out of the dark unless you invite it. If you found comfort in this quiet journey, if these whispered steps through the shadows stirred something in you, feel free to like the video, share it with someone who enjoys wandering through forgotten worlds, and subscribe so you can drift with us again into the strange and the unseen. Thank you for staying with me in the dim light of this story. Goodbye, and we will meet again.